Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. My name is Kevin. Well, today we're making a 100% garden farm to table meal. We're going to be making one of my favorite kind of springtime meals. This is a fun time because there's some of those first vegetables getting ready to come out of the garden. So today we're going to make in our Dutch oven, we're going to be making roasted turnips, radishes, and a rabbit. And we're going to use all things out of the garden, rabbits that we grew and processed here on our farm, and even the herbs are going to come out of the herb garden for today's video. So I'm going to get busy picking some of the vegetables that we need, and I'm going to bring you along and show you how we pick them, how we take them over and prepare them for the Dutch oven, and then how we'll cook it and be ready to eat. So the first thing we're going to pick are radishes. We've planted a couple rounds of radishes already this year, and I noticed when I was out earlier today that these are now ready to pick. So there's some pretty nice sized radishes here that need to come out. We'll save the tops, those are perfect to feed to the rabbits. So we're going to pick probably about a dozen radishes. We'll just put these in our basket, and then we'll go over and we will pick turnips as well. Alright, so we're over by the turnips. You can see they're starting to get toward the end of their life cycle. We've just been so hot and dry this spring here in Missouri that it's been kind of hard on some of these early spring plants, but they're still doing pretty well. We picked some the last few days and had some, and they're delicious. So we're going to pick just a few of these to throw into our Dutch oven as well. Alright, so we're going to pick some garlic to go with our dish as well. Now our garlic hasn't been in long enough to turn into a bulb yet, but in case you didn't know, you can pick garlic early and use it kind of like a green onion, except obviously it'll taste like garlic. So we'll just pull one up here. And you can see it just kind of looks like a small onion, and we'll just use that. We'll chop it up and we'll use this for our dinner. So along with our garlic today, we're going to also be using rosemary and thyme with our rabbit. We're going to cut both of those out of our herb garden. Our rosemary is still a little bit small because we started it from seed this spring, but there's plenty for today's meal. So we're just going to cut a couple little sprigs of rosemary. That'll be plenty. And then we're going to cut some thyme. And our thyme right now is flowering, but that doesn't really affect the taste of thyme. You can just cook with the flowers. It tastes just like everything else. So we're going to cut quite a bit of thyme because I really like it, and I think it goes really well with rabbit. So there we go. That's all of the vegetables and herbs that we need for today's dinner, fresh out of the garden. We're going to take this all into the house, get it washed up, and then we'll come back outside and start preparing it to go in the Dutch oven. Can't wait. So I got all the vegetables washed up in the house. Just look how beautiful those are. There's nothing better than going straight from the garden onto your dinner plate. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. We're going to start. I'm going to start by chopping up the turnips and the radishes. So the first thing we're going to do is just cut the tops and bottoms off. And then with the radishes, I'm going to just cut these in quarters. You want them to be, not really small pieces. And then when we get to the turnips, we'll try to cut the turnips into pieces about this same size. And the goal there is that you want everything to cook, at about the same speed. So we're just going ahead and get all of these cut up, and then we'll move on to our turnips. All right, so I've got all of the radishes chopped up. We're going to move on to the turnips. And I forgot to mention that I also have my charcoal started in my charcoal starter. that'll be going on the Dutch oven. So we'll get that going at the same time that we're doing this. That way we're all ready to get cooking as soon as we get these chopped up. Probably about 6 of these turnips. So we're using a 10-inch Dutch oven today, which is plenty big for our family. It's kind of my go-to size on a Dutch oven, and so we'll be able to fit the vegetables, the herbs, and the rabbit all in one Dutch oven, and those flavors are gonna just be awesome together. So I'm gonna finish chopping these up, and then we'll be ready to mix this all together and get ready to start cooking. All right, so I've got all of the vegetables cut up. Now with the herbs, we're just gonna cut these into, you know, kind of rough size pieces, nothing too fancy. And I'm gonna use about half of these herbs mixed in with the veggies, and we're gonna save the other half to go actually with the rabbit. Now with the garlic, like I said, you can just chop it like you would a green onion, and you know, it'll just cook down and those flavors will get in and it'll be perfect. Now you guys, if you haven't tried some of these things before, like turnips, or you know, cooked radishes, or you know, eat rabbit meat, I really encourage that you do. You know, they're so delicious, they're so healthy for you. You know, turnips and radishes you can get right in your regular grocery store if you don't grow them yourselves. If you haven't had rabbit meat, I highly recommend that you seek out someone in your area, a farmer who raises rabbits, and get a rabbit from them and give it a try. You know, rabbit meat is so good for you. It's lower in cholesterol and higher in protein than chicken meat. It's all white meat, it's very lean, and it's just delicious. We eat a lot of rabbit here on the homestead, so I encourage you to, you know, kind of branch out a little bit and try some new things. There was a time in our lives where Sarah and I were not very adventurous at all in what we ate. And it's actually when we were married probably about 10 years that we actually did a challenge where we decided for, I think it was, I don't know, a few months, that every week we were going to eat one thing we had never eaten before. Mostly fruits and vegetables that we had never eaten before. And you know, we found a lot of things that we really like, and we're so glad that we did that. In fact, that may have even been what kind of jump started us, you know, wanting to grow things for ourselves. And we learned that there were a lot of things out there that are super delicious that aren't very common. So all right, this is all chopped up. We're just going to sprinkle some of that in with the veggies here. We're going to put that in there. And now I have to admit, you guys, that I lied to you just a little bit. I said this was 100% home from the garden, but I do need to use a little bit of sunflower oil that we didn't produce ourselves, and I am going to use a little bit of salt, which we didn't mine ourselves. But other than that, this is all right here from the farms. All right, so I'm going to just use, you know, quite a bit of oil on here. It'll help with the rabbit when we cook it as well. And so I'm going to use quite a bit. I really like sunflower oil lately. That's kind of been my go-to oil. It's just so light tasting. And we're going to use some pink salt here. And then we're just going to use God's utensils to mix this all together. All right, so once you got that all mixed together really well, it's time to get the Dutch oven ready, and we'll get all of this in, get the rabbit on, and time to put the briquettes on. And that's it. Now we're going to get this over and start putting the coals onto the Dutch oven. Now, if you're not familiar with Dutch oven cooking and how this works, you're going to put some coals underneath the Dutch oven, and you're going to put some coals on top of the Dutch oven. You're going to put more on top because it cooks from the top down. So the way to figure out how many coals is for 350 degrees, which is what we want right now. You take the size of your Dutch oven, you multiply it by 2. So in this case, it's a 10-inch Dutch oven. Multiply it by 2, so you need 20 briquettes. And then you divide that in half, so 10 on the top and 10 on the bottom. But you don't want that many. You want 3 less on the bottom. So in our case, we're going to put 13 on top and 7 on the bottom. And that's how you get 350 degrees on a Dutch oven. So we're going to put 7 down here on the ground, and you want them kind of around the outside of the bottom of the Dutch oven. And again, nothing needs to be that perfect. Now we're going to set the Dutch oven over the coals just like that. And then the rest, since I already have them counted out, will go on the top. But basically from this point on, we're just check it every once in a while to see how it's cooking, and it'll probably take 45 minutes to an hour to get done, and then we'll be ready to eat dinner. Alright, so it's been about 35 minutes, so I'm going to check it for the first time, and then we'll turn it if we need to, and let's see how it looks. Wow, it's looking good. That rabbit is coming along well. Looks like the veggies are starting to cook. We don't want to overdo the rabbit and dry it out, but it looks good. So we'll check back in a little bit. All right, so it's been about another 15 or so minutes, and I think it is done. I checked the temperature of the meat with a meat thermometer. With rabbit, you want to be just like with poultry, about 165 degrees, and this was a little over. And I poked the veggies with a fork, and they were nice and tender. So I'm going to take this and put it on the table, and then we're going to get ready for dinner. Well, this looks and smells delicious, and the best part is this came 100% out of our gardens and off of our farm. The roasted veggies like this are one of our favorite things in the summer, especially when we can, get a good harvest, and we're just excited that God's blessed us with another season to be able to grow our own food. If this is your first time visiting our homestead, this would be the perfect time to hit the subscribe button below. If you're one of our traditionalists who comes back every day, we sure do appreciate you guys. And until next time, thanks for stopping by the homestead. Take care, and God bless.